how do you manage IAM user login profiles like console passwords with a team? And the keybase key cannot and should not be shared amongst the team members. What do you do if the original creator of the login profile leaves the company and the key is deleted? So before I answer your question, and this is asking, this is kind of like the very popular thing I like to bring up, this XY problem is more about asking about your attempted solution than the actual problem. And the actual problem is, how do you manage users with AWS more effectively? Obviously, one way is with IAM users, and if that's a hard requirement, I get it. We were using IAM users for a long time at Cloud Posse. I mean, from 2015, 2016, 2017. But starting 2018, 2019, 2020, we were just using SAML. And now in 2021, we've moved on to AWS SSO. So the thing is that IAM users are, I think their only purpose these days is for system level user accounts that you need to integrate AWS with third-party services. You're using Circle CI for some reason. You need Circle CI to talk to AWS. Okay, you provision a system user for that. Or you're using GitHub Actions without self-hosted runners, because if you had self-hosted runners, you'd be using EC2 instance profiles, etc. So you might be referring to our IAM user module. Yeah, so we have two here. So they're opinionated in kind of what they do. The system user module is the one that we would just use for this purpose I was talking about, like for Circle CI. This just, I think this does two things. Does this one do SSM too? No, so this one just generates the key pairs for a user. They're emitted as outputs. Yeah, not best practice. What one would do from that point is write those to SSM and then have some other process of getting those to Circle or whatever. But your question is about Keybase. And if we're talking about the IAM user module that we have, the PGP key can be automatically passed, right, by just specifying the Keybase username. And then it uses that to randomly generate a password, encrypt it with the user's public key, and then as an output of this, you would output the decryption command that they would use for Keybase to do that. Thing is, Keybase, they were acquired by Zoom. The press release for it didn't bode much confidence about the future of Keybase. It was an acqui-hire. They bought the team so they could address the medium bleeding problems with Zoom and encryption. So they got some subject matter experts to go do that. I don't know what the long-term prospect is for Keybase, so we stopped recommending it.
I can comment on that. There haven't been any commits or any substantial commits to Keybase in forever. There were multiple bugs in the Keybase app that were blocking, like iOS OS upgrade bugs, and I just completely stopped using it. So I would strongly suggest not using Keybase anymore. It's no longer an option. There's absolutely no input or comment on anything. It seems it's just completely ignored at this point. And yeah, AWS SSO is working great. It has an awesome UI. It's still not integrated with all the tools, which is annoying. So you might still need IAM users for things like CDK or some other AWS CLI tools that don't know SSO, but it's so easy to change accounts and to switch and to manage everything in a highly compliant way.
Totally agree. Totally agree with Vlad, end to end on that.
Yeah, I can speak to this specific to his question. I don't think Bart is in the call, but in case he responds to this, I have one client that I still have to manage IAM users as a requirement by the client, or they didn't want to mess with SAML. I don't know why. We're going to be switching them, of course, but the thing that I do is instead of passing a keybase key, use a actual PGP key, and then store that in SSM, and then only have lockdown access to just admins on your account to be able to get that key, and then you can decrypt the user's passwords using that raw PGP key instead of a keybase key. I think that's the path forward here, because nobody wants to suggest using keybase anymore because it's on its last leg, and is likely to sail off into the sunset at some point soon.
Yeah, and I guess I'll just add to that, if you are insistent on continuing to use keybase, you can actually pass the keybase team there and have a team that specifically has access to those credentials. And then when you remove that user from the team, that user actually no longer can decrypt the key that's the secret that's encrypted for that team's key. Although my other caveat to that is if someone had the keys to the kingdom and they leave your organization, you should have a process where you go through and rotate all of your secrets that person ever had access to anyway, and shouldn't rely on the fact that they no longer have access to them right now. Assume that they decrypted every secret that they were allowed to before they left, and have a copy of that somewhere, and then change that as soon as that person leaves.
And we all do that. Raise your hands.
I was going to mention it. Yeah.
If you put in the right process, it's not as hard to do, right?
I agree.
You have to have a checklist for offboarding administrators. And it takes discipline, but you can actually do it. I have worked in a couple of organizations where we've done that very successfully.
I think you need the right tooling too, though. Like you need something like Vault that does, rotates keys easily, and you can't have too much hard-coded stuff. It can't be a big manual process every time you have a engineer.
And depending on the number of these integrations, it gets gnarly. Many of them you can't have simultaneous keys. So the second you generate a new one, it invalidates the other one. You have running systems. Those running systems immediately fail. It sounds beautiful in practice, but few things are as easy to rotate as like RDS credentials maybe.
Well, and it goes hand in hand with principle of least privilege. There. So don't give everyone keys to everything just because they're an administrator, right? Either.
Don't get yourself into the position to have to worry about it. Cool. Any other comments related to Bart's question here? So I mean, the final question there to Bart was, what do you do if the original creator of the login profile leaves the company? You just deprovision that IAM user, right? Do you taint and recreate it? I'm not following that part. I would just delete the resource or deactivate the resource.
Yeah, I can add on this also. The using of SSO. Can you hear me, guys, first?
Yep.
Hello? Yep. Okay. So SSO, you don't need to reinvent the wheel, actually. I agree with most of you guys on this one. So SSO, I think, is the next reasonable step that we need to implement. All of these problems can vanish when you use SSO, and it's easy for onboarding or removing when someone leaves the team. SSO already have a module on Cloud Posse and can be automated, and also you can integrate it with most of AWS resources like VPN. Now you can have VPN with, back to the topic before. So you can have SSO with VPN now, and you can have SSO with workspace or anything that need federated access. So I think the answer is you don't need to use IAM anymore, right? Unless it's like a requirements here.
Well, thanks for adding that additional context, Mohammed.